So in trading about an hour at the early Asian session, I've lost about $600. Gross profit is about $2,000 and the total net $1,420. Because I lost, there is 3 contracts by stop losses. And that was today, and total of trades is about 24, but each of the trade was with the 3 contracts, and the percent profitable is about 83%. So all of them were into a short, so I was shorting. And today you're gonna see exactly the whole session, the way I shorted and how I used the best order flow indicators, the new type of the indicators, Heatmap, integrated with a footprint with a market by order dome on the right side, and with the delta 2, delta 1, market speed, and definitely a footprint with a heat map as number 1 indicator. Yes, with some icebergs indicator that helps me as well. So now you're gonna see the whole session from the beginning to the end, and you will see the whole logic, how I use the indicators to define who is taking upper hand, buyers or sellers, and the time to enter and the where to hide my stop losses. Okay, let's take a look what's going on. There's a large iceberg out here. Apparently large, like this one, 94, 92. So these guys are selling on level 2, large sale, large sale. So let's take a look. What else do we have? Since the beginning of this Asian session, we just started. So we went up. There is some clusters of icebergs were sitting there for a while from the actually yesterday from the previous New York session. So they originated the icebergs over there, and then they move it into today opening Asian session. Okay, so they provided us the ceiling resistance. This is a ceiling resistance. Now we moved dramatically down, bounce it up a little bit. If we take this rectangle, basically this is the range. Let's say this is the range, and here we go. This is the range. So now let's move it to the right. So we bounce it back to this range. No power to go higher. So that's how we began today. So looks like direction of the momentum or direction of the trend is we're going lower. I see that there's some liquidity out here for this early time for the gold, and this is another liquidity sitting here supporting. This is selling, this is supporting. Now there's some other liquidity sitting right there, 22 to compare with this one is like 13. That's not too much. What direction should I trade? Should I trade shorts or should I trade long? Looks like I should go into the shorts. Let's see the best conditions for it. Okay, here's a pigtail pattern. That pigtail is pointing to, it's not really certain, by the way. This pigtail pattern is not really certain at the moment. So this one is actually red with the tail in the upper side of it, POC. Okay, I think that now the sellers taking over on both levels, level 1, level 2. Okay, yeah, bingo, that is the sale. And let's do some sale. These 2 candles, dangerous candles, a green candle on the 10 range. We'll see the reversal. If the reversal happens, I'm gonna short this chart. Yeah, there's some buyers on a footprint sitting right here. There's a buyer sitting right there, while we're seeing that there's a heavy zone, selling zone on an imbalance. There's a more selling here than this guy's buying. 101 delta bar right over here. That is a serious sellers. The buyer's not that large. If I see the delta 10, 16, no. So 101, 100. I think this is actually good position if I see a good pigtail pattern, and it's probably a good position for me to go lower. So the buyers went up, then they smack down. And what's going on right now? Let's see. So there's some buyers sitting there, probably trying to unlock these trapped buyers. So here we go. I think the mission is accomplished. And now I can go into the sales mode. So there's some buyers again over here. What are they doing? It's not wise for them to be there. Let's wait a little bit. So Delta pulling and stacking is green. Delta 1 is green. Too dangerous to short it right now. Although I don't see too much activities at the top of this candle. Okay, sellers show up. Oh, we're moving up. So on the DOM, I can see an MBO. There's some sellers sitting here, and there's an iceberg container waiting. If the price will be here, start selling again. I'm gonna sell by ask. I think so.
Order submitted.
Here we go.
Order filled.
This delta is red. This is green yet, but on the candle structure,
Target filled.
here we go. I see it is actually a good signal over here. This one.
Stop filled.
Okay, let's wait a little bit. I think I can put my stop loss over here behind these two large orders on the dome. We'll see if they're gonna hold it. If they're gonna hold it, that's good. If the iceberg is gonna hold it, that's good. But this container is very small for the iceberg. Okay, let's see what's going on the deltas. So there was a one red delta, very teeny beeny volume over here. That's a good sign, so there's not too much fight so far. There was more volume here, and there's a less volume here. So that is a good sign for reversal. I see that there's an iceberg being triggered over here, still sitting here as a container, hoping to being refilled again. Now, did you see the good point where I move my stop loss behind the orders on the dome? So the MBO dome is really a good indicator where you can see the liquidity.
Target filled.
Here we go, we filled in. Okay, that's not too bad. So that means our direction is still, we're going lower. Okay, so the iceberg being filled, this one and that one, so 2 times iceberg being filled over here. Let's see what's going on, how serious we are, and where this momentum may get exhausted. So the exhaustion we can see right on a footprint. Okay, so this is about probably, this is the previous range. This is the imbalance, selling, imbalance, selling, imbalance. This is the vacuum of trades. Okay, but this is about the range, so we can mirror that range. We'll see on the footprint there's exhaustion or not. Yeah, definitely. This is a very early Asian session. There's not too much at the top and at the bottom. 02, 02, 01, 01, 000. I mean, we're moving what? Practically, we're moving based on not too much volume, though. You see, the volume is not too much. This is the danger of the early Asian session.
Order submitted. Order filled.
Here we go. This is another hint, I sell by ask. That means when the price is lower and I put my order slightly higher, that gives me at least one or maybe more ticks advantage when I sell by ask. And in the long run, it can accumulate a pretty hefty amount on your account. So if we're taking in consideration what's going on the big picture, this is the reversal looks like so far. We can count this as a reversal.
Target filled. Target filled.
Here we go. So the pigtail pattern is helping me magically. Although I'm not sure, should I go lower again? We'll see if this low gonna hold. So if this low gonna hold or not, because there was absorption right here and there's some liquidity sits here for a while. Another liquidity, so there's liquidity. Not too much though, although for this time of the session, we'll see if we have enough desire to go lower. So there is some liquidity sitting here, 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 here. So this is the heat map. very easy to tune it and to take some junk, extra information, the clutter out of the picture. So you see, this territory is uncharted or untraveled by the price today. That's why it's kind of interesting. We don't see any footprints or any price on the left side today, except we can see some benchmark from yesterday. Okay, that was the very low, at least last range low over here, right below this heat map liquidity. So let me actually put the mark that regional highlight. Yeah, I can do something like this. Okay, so I can do something like that. So bingo, now it's easy for me to see the previous day. So the price is, when price is taking the angle that is less and less steep, that means we can go on a sidewalk and then we can reverse. So let's take a look over here. Yeah, we made the lower low, definitely. Low, low, lower low, lower than previous low, lower than previous low. This high was higher than previous local high, but we made the lower low. Interesting. So we can come back up to this area to seek the support or to seek the resistance. That's where we are right now. If this range will hold, then we're gonna go lower again. So there was a selling iceberg sitting here, 17. That's why there is a bubble behind that as a market delta. Market delta bubbles. Okay, so somebody absorbing the top so far. We'll see if this absorption will be taking over, because there's a buyers over here on the footprint and they taking over the sellers, definitely, because sellers, 0, 1, 0, 1, and the buyers are 13, 11. That creates imbalance, but it is a single imbalance. Yet it's not enough to have 3 or 4 one after another to create the zone. But this can be like almost like a zone, buying zone. Okay, so what is the peak-tail pattern telling us on the range, 10 range? Let's take a look and keep attention. Will we take previous high over here or not? So delta block is 12 right over here. Not significant. 29, it was right over here. You can see behind the transparent bubbles on the left. 30 is easier to see because on the right there is that wick of the candle, and on the left there is a green semi-transparent delta block. 30 is kind of good, 30 is good, and 12 is not really significant. So now the sellers starting to take over, not too far from this imbalance zone that the candle, kind of like a candle bar, stick into this imbalance zone created by these sellers sitting over here. Now, is that enough for reaction to push it down? Too early to say, too early to conclude, although we start seeing some reversal pattern on the peak tail pattern on a 10 range over here. So the sellers showing up, sellers 10 on the sale side of that. Here we go. I see that delta on the level 2 is red, delta on level 1 is red. We'll see. If this POC gonna be lower, then it's a good sign to go low. If the POC gonna be higher, then it's be like, be careful sign. Sign to be careful. So the POC is higher. Not a good idea. If this candle will turn into the red, then it's gonna be a good idea. If the T high, okay, so POC moved back. I think this is a selling position, selling proposition.
Order filled.
Here we go. I'm selling right now. 3 contracts. Okay, there's some buyers actually sitting right here. I'm not sure if they have a good impulse or momentum, but let's wait a little bit. Here we go. This is wiggling up and down. So there's some liquidity sitting right there. Not too much, but it sits there for some period of time. I'm going to hide my stop loss right above 12 and 10, 11, Here we go. Yes, I do see some buyers over here, and there was a buying zone because 3, 1, 2, 3 in a row imbalances buyers more 200% than the sellers. So we've got this little zone over here, so they stuck. But there's not a significant
Target
amount.
filled.
Oh, okay. Target is
Target filled.
okay. I'm positive again. Let's see if this target is gonna be filled. That means we on our way down again.
Target filled.
Nice. Okay. So we are selling, and looks like we can add more into the sale. According to this structure, I'll be careful. A little bit careful right now. Careful. It may be too early. Too early. Okay, that was actually perfect take. And the very end of this candle, really nice. Now, by looking at these trades, I went down, slightly up, boom, I've got the 3 contracts into the profit. That was a good one. So this trades indicator that shows the trades right on the chart is really an excellent tool while you're trading. You can see, are you too aggressive or you are conservative? Your entries, you see the amount of the drawdown against you.
Order submitted.
Looks like we're taking over again. The seller's taking over. There's a bunch of the red on the pull and stacking
Order filled.
delta right here. The volume is not that high yet. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna hide my stop again a little bit higher. No, it's actually fine to be here. So MBO DOM, there's a 5. Volume 5 sitting right here. There's another 5, so it's a good protection for me if the price is gonna go against me. So far we're seeing that we went higher, but then we couldn't make higher than previous local high, and we went down. So looks like we are selling. So that has a direction, and this is the pulling and stacking delta 2 is red, 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 red. Yeah, there's some green right now. No serious buyers backing us here. I don't see the large buying positions on the level 2, but those positions are very small. Like over here, you're seeing there's a 9 contracts and a volume ST, and that means all these buyers are 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, volume 1. And there's a 9 of them sitting right here. There's a 12 contracts, and volume is all of them by 1, except one contains 2, volume 2. So MBO is actually a really good indicator that gives the details. Now it's kind of the support so far, but it's hard to say it's going to keep being a support, or we're simply having some wiggle room. Okay, there's some liquidity sitting here. I don't think that is going to be a problem. Like this one.
Target filled.
Yeah, like this one, it wasn't a problem. 12. So
Target filled.
Here we go.
Target filled.
Here we go. The third one, the profit take. Nice. So it's a good evening for selling. Because what? Because the whole direction is we're going down. Do be down. You see, since the opening, we tested the upper limit, and then we tested the range, this previous opening range again. Now there's a large selling icebergs over here, and we're going lower. Are those sellers actually pulling or adding some energy into the sales? Hard to say. But we're seeing the sellers are right here. When the session just started, the icebergs more, and so the way the color and the way the reaction is like, oh, okay, so we just fill the iceberg over here, 45, into the cell. This is the container for this iceberg, which is still hopping. Okay, now it's moving lower. Definitely we're gonna go into the short position, right? Let me see what's the peak tail. Be careful right now. Yeah, I'm be careful. Yes, I can go short right now, but I think it's going to be too aggressive. Too aggressive. Now, this iceberg, when it's round, not the square, that means that this iceberg was, by its nature of level 2, aggressive. Still on level 2, still passive order. But inside of those orders, it was kind of in a hurry. It's kind of like a desperate one. So we have the way to distinguish between regular icebergs that's sitting there and passively waiting the time. But this one is round one, so we know, you can read it in our description for the iceberg. It's a different nature of the triggering this order. So we know usually when the round ones triggered, they can actually point to a direction more than the one that you can see in a square, not in the circle. Okay, here we go. A little bit too dangerous, I think, yet for me to enter. Okay, now I see that there's a sellers on a level 2 present. Obviously now if I wanted to, now I think I can go into a short
Order
again.
submitted. Order filled.
Here we go. The iceberg container is sitting right here. If the price will come to this price level, it will be filled in. We don't know if they're gonna fill like up to the brim with a 10, 15, 20. No, not. See, they removed it. They just remove it. They decide not to participate.
Stop filled.
Boom, I've got my first stop today. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But I'm still positive about 520. That's not too bad. Okay. So 3 contracts, each of them by 200. So I lost about $600. But at the bottom line, I am 520 in plus. Okay, so what is the deal? Because it's a quite kind of like an equal previous low. So there was some reaction, but and it was a kind of fast reaction, but I think the general direction is still we're going lower. Yeah, I need to be careful just by looking at this structure. Not the structure, but the POC. POC at the good position, not a good position. That is kind of like a reversal now. Slightly, let's wait. So the peak tail telling me don't enter into the short yet. Now when I see the red candle over here on a 10 range, okay, it's not finalized as red. Let's wait how this candle finalized. Yes, I see the delta on both levels are red. Red over here now, it's like red, changing slightly to green. Should I go into the sales? Now you see there's a container for the buying iceberg. That's interesting. So there is some activity on the buying side, on passive side of the order flow. Okay, this looks like so far danger to short. Not a good combination of the on the footprint to short. We're seeing the POC here, slightly higher, slightly higher, slightly higher. Not dramatically higher though. Let's see if there's exhaustion will be shown somewhere in this area on the top of the candle. So the buyer steps in on a level 2. So the level 2 is moving the price higher. And this is the container for the iceberg sitting right there. So there's some support with this fellow. Okay, so there's some support. So this is a supportive range. Here we go. Should we let this direction to meet another area, the possible resistance area? We'll see. The footprint is actually a good tool, really good tool, kind of equal at the top. Now you see this peak tail. It is in the correct direction, and I'm going
Order
into the
submitted.
sale because of this structure, because of these 2 peak tails. And there is red on the
Order
delta
filled.
2, red on the delta 1, although the volume is going lower. When the volume is going low, that means the end of the fight possible. End of the fight. Okay. Yeah, there's some buyers sitting on level 2, some buyers sitting on level 2. Okay, there's some liquidity. This one is for a long time, longer than this 2. We'll see. I'm not going to move my stop loss, except maybe I can move it slightly into the area of these POs on these candles, which provide some possible resistance. Okay, now this is a selling delta 2, selling delta 1. Okay, I think I'm ready.
Target filled.
1 take profit, unless this iceberg is real.
Target filled.
Here we go. Second take profit. There's a 1 tick to the third one.
Target filled.
Okay, We back to 820 exactly before this loss with a stop loss. Okay, now we're actually moving and I can say that I'm ready to move lower. Is it? I think so. Let's wait. Green, green, too early. Green over here. Now when we need it to be red, okay, changing to sell, to buy. Selling, nice selling. So we are committed to sell. So we are committed to sell. The price committed to sell. So there's some buying icebergs right here. We may experience some bounce back into this range. And if that happens, that's going to be a good positions to re-enter into the sales. To shorts, you see these icebergs are in a square. So they are regular icebergs, buying icebergs. It's not necessarily that they show directions, but those icebergs were sitting there for, they position them here and then they move it at this time into this price. So it was kind of like a waiting icebergs. Interesting. So they were planned for like half an hour, at least 5 minutes. At least 5 minutes, because we're on the 1 minute time frame. So that is the absorption. There is absorption on the footprint with the green rectangles. Absorption, absorption, absorption. There's liquidity sitting right here. The iceberg is trying to fill in. That's a kind of good container. So the price is bouncing so far. So there is some reaction. The buyers sitting here, they provide that reaction on the level 2. So would you like to go into a buying mode? The main direction we are still into, we're going lower. The main direction is still we're going lower, right? But there is some absorption by the big red bubbles we're seeing at the end of the candles, and the reaction was again. So those absorption, I don't know if that absorption is capable to stop the main trend direction. You see, we bounce it from this liquidity. That was really good. We bounced it about 10 ticks. The container is still waiting to being filled. So the iceberg 10 still there. So looks like this range is a support, and the mission for the price is. So right now there's some fight going on. Okay, here we go.
Order submitted. Order filled.
Very aggressive sale on the level 2.
Target filled.
Here we go. So we closed 3 positions. Yes, aggressive sale on the level 2. Most of you probably never seen this. This is a new indicator that shows the aggressive sales on the passive side of that. It's still passive, but active like prematurely. Very kind of like, I want to sell here. I really want to sell. So 48 is a pretty good. So now I'm about 1200 O's, 1120 in positive. So one stop loss taking. One stop loss was where? It was right here, stop loss. Okay, there's the buyers activated here. After this fight, these buyers activated. Here we go. There's like a large amount, 51 on a buying side, trapped right now. They will move the price higher. They will. I don't know when, but they will try to unlock. Here we go. Now they unlocked these buyers. So the mission accomplished, 0101. So, okay, that mission is accomplished. We reached this objective. So that was objective for the price to unlock them at least. Now, these guys are selling. Should we go into the sale? Be careful. There's a buyers. Okay, wow. There's a buyer sitting right here. Wow, that's amazing. So the main trend direction is still into, we're going lower, but right now there's a strong reaction. Let's take a look over here. You see, there's a range, a lower range. Should we wait until the price will come back into this area? You see that area up to this range? So let's wait another maybe 10, 15 ticks if the price will go higher or not. So right now price is reversing. Here we go.
Order filled.
There's a buying iceberg containers, one and another iceberg container right there. So two containers.
Target filled. Target filled.
Here we go. So 2 orders being closed. I mean 3 orders being closed, right? Very fast. I'm about $1,400 in positive. Should I stop? I think it's going to be good for me for tonight. And the bottom line is tonight we are going lower. Now there's a bunch of iceberg clusters sitting right here. A bunch of the clusters, of the iceberg clusters, cancellation you can say. So, and this may provide us some possibility that the resistance is growing because those positive icebergs, not positive, but buying icebergs, right now they are trapped right there. Unless if these buying icebergs exited over here, if these buying icebergs exited over here, possibility absolutely. These buying icebergs may maybe 1, 2, 3, not too much. They're still into a trap, sitting in a trap, but they can move the price higher and exit right here with this order. You see this 97, very aggressive passive order. I mean, you probably never heard that passive can be aggressive, but yeah, there's the two sides of the order flow, passive side and aggressive side. Aggressive side, it is the bid and ask on the footprint, and the passive side, it is the level 2 data and on the DOM as well. So passive liquidity. But inside of the passive liquidity, inside of that, there are two types of the passive sellers or passive buyers as well. Okay, you see, this is what's happening. We went lower, but this cluster of the buying icebergs now moving the price. Here we go. So anybody who bought here with the iceberg here, here, they have a chance to exit now because these icebergs not necessarily sitting here for a long period of time. They can sit there for 10 ticks and exit, 10 ticks and exit. So they not always define the main direction of the trend. Okay, now we kind of pass it, those buying icebergs. We may exit it really well if you are one of those buying icebergs. And now we're close to this range. There's some liquidity sitting here on a selling side of the level 2 data, and this anybody from over here who were entering into the buying icebergs, then they have a chance to leave. Here we go. That's it. So they maybe already played their role, and they may not define for the price to go significantly higher to change the main trend direction. This is it. This is not too bad. I think I'm okay for tonight with about $1,400. I think this is good. Good for me. And now the direction of the trend. You see, this is now we're making higher local low. Of course, it's not changing. This is the whole range. This is the large, and this range is not making yet higher than previous this high. Those are local momentum highs. They are not significant. Okay. So we're not going to even talk about them unless we go higher than over here, then we're still in a downtrend. So this is it. So as you can see, the peak tail pattern is really helping me. Peak tail pattern over here, the delta 2 pulling and stacking, delta level 2 delta and level 1 delta, volume delta, and a market speed over here. Market speed, footprint integrated with the heat map. Footprint shows the imbalance zones. This is a buying imbalance zone, buying imbalance zone. Then we can observe the PO, point of control, and each candle, the biggest fight inside of this candle. And we can see the volume profile left of the candle. You see there's a volume profile right there. We can see the delta blocks minus 21 right here and plus 25 right over here. Delta block 37 over here, 21 over here. So now we're seeing the delta 25, 37, 21. It's kind of moving higher and higher and higher, pushing the price higher. We're seeing with a brighter blue imbalances, single imbalances, and when they are when they are 3 or 4 in a row, they create a zone, imbalance zone, like this is the imbalance zone, buying imbalance zone, which you can tune in the footprint indicator. We're also seeing we're using the bubbles, market bubbles, difference between the buying and selling side as the delta. And we can see icebergs, the square icebergs and the round icebergs. This is the round in a circle, and this is in a rectangle in a square iceberg. So all of these differences of the shape tell us a story. We also can see the dome, and on the dome we can see absolutely unique ID that identify the volume for this order. We can see the iceberg containers on the dome, and we can see a aggressive between the passive sellers. They the better name for them is desperate, okay, desperate passive orders on each side. And those orders quite often predefine the direction. So when I'm scalping, I can rely on those unusual orders on the dome. And my stop, as you observed, that I put my stop and I hide it like behind this. For example, this is a possible resistance. Okay, this seller is on a level 2. So if I have the stop, I can put behind the stop on the market by order dome. So that's how I trade. It's not too difficult. The main idea behind this trend is to define who is taking upper hand, sellers or buyers, sellers or buyers. And you can see it with all of these indicators in combinations, deltas, and the activities on the level 1, activities on level 2, activities on a heat map, and the market by order DOM. The market by order DOM, this is a container for buying iceberg. So they just removed that container. Selling iceberg, excuse me, that was a selling iceberg right there. They just removed it. And okay, so here we go. You can see all my orders. I can make analysis of my trades right while I'm trading. So I don't have to wait until I finish my session. But this is basically the all orders on this session. Did I took any more? No, that's where when I started it. So this is all my orders, and you can see the whole session. This is round one, very aggressive selling iceberg. Those square ones, it is a regular buying icebergs over here. But what the difference is that this is the single large, while over here you see a bunch of small icebergs as a clusters, and those icebergs were conceived right over here. Was it the same person or not? Because we can see that it was about in the same time on the timeline. It was about the same time when they conceived, and then they moved them from this price level to a higher position in anticipation that the price is going to go higher. So now, are these buying icebergs justify their position? Yes. The point is, when you're seeing the buying iceberg, it is not the immediate signal to go into the same direction. Because do you have the power to go in this large drawdown like they are capable to experience this drawdown, and because they have a larger amount on the account, so they can simply wait for the price to return and exit into the profit over here. That's what they probably doing right now. So this upper movement is probably justified by these icebergs. They were entered over here and quite easily exited right over here. So now they're probably not a problem for the price to continue its to the same direction. And then we can see on a heat map, there is some heat map liquidity over here and the previous day low. So this is a really good marker for us to see how the price is going to react on this liquidity and on a previous day low.